Welcome to the debate. Today, we are stepping onto the parapet. We are looking down at a drop that could kill us, or if we manage to keep our balance, lead us to, well, probably the most anticipated fantasy adaptation of the decade.
A very high parapet.
Exactly. I am talking, of course, about the television adaptation of Rebecca Yarros' Fourth Wing. We're dealing with Basgiath War College, lethal trials, dragon riders, the cutthroat politics of Navarre. I mean, the stakes here are just astronomical. Amazon MGM Studios bought the rights to the entire Empyrean series way back in October 2023, teaming up with Michael B. Jordan's Outlier Society. It's a massive package.
It is.
But here's the tension that's, keeping the fandom up at night. Is the current state of this production, which has been defined by radio silence, a very high-profile showrunner swap, and a release date that seems to keep drifting further and further away, is this evidence of a meticulous, prestige-level development process, or are we watching a project just struggling to find its footing? I look at this timeline and I see strategy. I see Amazon prioritizing long-term narrative infrastructure over a quick cash grab.
See, and I look at the exact same timeline, and I just see entropy. I'm looking at this with a heavy dose of production skepticism. When you lose your original captain, your showrunner, 2 years into the process, and you still have no cast, no start date, that usually suggests the project is stalling. My worry is that development hell often looks exactly like active development right up until the lights go out. I think they're taking the fan momentum, which was absolute lightning in a bottle, for granted.
I get that fear. I do. We've all been burned by adaptations that promised the world and then delivered nothing. But you have to look at who is in the kitchen here. We aren't talking about some scrappy indie studio trying to finance a pilot. This is Amazon MGM. They are an industry behemoth, and they are partnered with Outlier Society. Plus, and this is key, Rebecca Yarros is an executive producer who is deeply involved. She has gone on record saying she's read the pilot scripts and called them amazing. And think about the actual challenge of adapting this. Fourth Wing isn't a standalone story. It's the entry point to a 5-book saga that is, well, that's still being written. Onyx Storm is on its way. The lore is expanding. So I view this silence not as paralysis, but as the necessary quiet work of mapping that entire 5-book arc before they even shoot a single frame. They are trying to avoid the Game of Thrones problem, right? Where the show outpaces the source material and just completely falls off a cliff. They are building a decade-long franchise, and you just can't rush the foundation of a skyscraper.
That sounds great on paper. Mapping the arc is a lovely phrase. But let's look at the cold, hard calendar. Rights were secured in October 2023. We are sitting here years later, and we are still firmly in pre-production. No cast, no filming dates, no release window other than these vague whispers of 2027 or 2028? In Hollywood, time isn't just a luxury, it's currency. And they are burning it by the barrel. And you talk about the strength of the team, but let's talk about the stability of that team. They hired Moira Walley-Beckett as the showrunner in mid-2024. That was a huge flex.
A huge get, yeah.
Right? She created Anne with an E. She wrote Ozymandias for Breaking Bad. I mean, that is a heavyweight Emmy-caliber writer. And then in July 2025, she just walks away. That isn't a minor hiccup. Losing a talent like that almost 2 years into development just screams creative differences. It suggests that the studio and the creative lead were watching 2 completely different movies. If the vision was so solid, why did the captain abandon ship?
Okay, I think abandoned ship is the wrong metaphor. I see it as a course correction, and frankly, a necessary one. Look, Moira Walley-Beckett is brilliant. She is a master of internal, character-driven trauma. But Fourth Wing is an action-heavy, supernatural romance thriller. It needs a different gear. And look at who they brought in to replace her, Meredith Averill.
Okay.
Averill was a showrunner on Lock and Key and an EP on Wednesday. And just think about Wednesday for a second. It was dark, it was supernatural,
It was young adult, but it was snappy. It had pace. Avril's resume is arguably a much, much better tonal fit for Bazgiev than Anne with an E. So the fact that Amazon made that switch tells me they realized they were drifting too far into prestige drama and needed to steer back toward high-octane thriller. That's not a collapse. That's just smart producing. And significantly, Yarros didn't spiral when this happened. She remained excited about the scripts. If the author's happy with the pivot, I think we should be too.
Hold on, though. You don't just pivot showrunners 2 years in if things are going smartly. That's a reset, a hard reset. Meredith Averill is talented, absolutely, but she is inheriting a project that has already burned through millions in development costs in years of time. She likely wanted to do her own pass on the scripts, which adds another, 6 to 8 months to the timeline. And while they're doing all this rewriting behind closed doors, outside those doors, there is a vacuum. And in the absence of news, the fans they're losing their minds. The rumors are becoming unmanageable, specifically the casting. The silence has allowed the internet to cast this show, and that is a very dangerous game for a studio to play. We have to talk about Josh Huston.
The Josh Huston situation is fascinating.
It's not just fascinating, it's deafening. Josh Huston from Heartbreak High is effectively Xaden Riorson to millions of people right now, and he knows it. He's posting dragon emojis. He's posting photos of him reading the books. He's giving these cheeky, cryptic answers in interviews. It is brilliant self-marketing, but it puts Amazon in a terrible, terrible bind. If they cast him, it looks like they just bowed to TikTok pressure. If they don't cast him, they face an immediate backlash from a fan base that has already canonized him in their heads. The longer Amazon waits to announce the real cast, the more these fan casts, like Mackenzie Foy for Violet or Emilio Sacraia, harden into concrete expectations. The fandom is currently trying to divine the future by zooming into the reflection of a spoon in an Instagram story. That is the level of desperation we are at because the studio won't speak.
It is chaotic, I admit. It is. But I'd argue that Amazon cannot and should not let Reddit threads dictate a multi-million-dollar casting decision. The silence isn't negligence. I see it as a protective measure. Casting Fourth Wing is like walking through a minefield. Rebecca Yarros has been incredibly specific about her requirements, particularly regarding diversity. She has explicitly stated that Xaden Riorson should be a person of color. That is, non-negotiable for the integrity of the adaptation. And while Josh Huston fits the description for many, the production team has to prioritize one thing above all else: chemistry. The entire show lives or dies on the dynamic between Violet and Xaden.
Sure, of course.
We are talking Bridgerton level of necessity here. If that spark isn't real, the show fails. Official chemistry tests are grueling. You can't simulate that over Zoom or judging by who looks good on Instagram. The fact that they haven't announced a cast suggests to me they are refusing to settle. They are hunting for a unicorn. 2 actors who embody these roles and have electric chemistry. I'd rather they take an extra year to find the right pair than cast the flavor of the month and have zero heat on screen.
I agree that chemistry is paramount. If Aiden and Violet have the energy of siblings, the show is dead on arrival. But you're ignoring the book talk factor. This book series exploded because of a very specific cultural algorithm. Trends move so fast. By targeting a 2027 or 2028 release, Amazon is betting that the audience will stay hungry for 5 years. That is a lifetime in pop culture. Look at Shadow and Bone. Great show, loyal fan base, canceled. Look at the Divergent series. They didn't even finish the movies. Momentum is a perishable resource. My fear is that by the time Amazon finally unveils their perfect cast and their perfect scripts, the cultural conversation will have moved on. They're assuming the audience will wait for them. That is arrogance.
I don't think it's arrogance. I think it's an understanding of the scale they are building. You're comparing this to YA trends, but Amazon is treating this like The Lord of the Rings. Look at the technical requirements. This isn't just people in leather armor talking in a room. This is dragons, and not just background dragons. Tyrn, Arndarna, Skaljal. These are main characters. And we need to really stress the VFX challenge here. Making a dragon look realistic is hard. Making a dragon talk without it looking ridiculous is almost impossible. It's the ultimate uncanny valley challenge. If Tyrn looks like a cartoon
or if his mouth movements don't match the gravity of his voice, the show becomes a comedy. Amazon knows this. They saw the backlash to some of the CGI in Rings of Power. They know House of the Dragon set the bar incredibly high. You cannot 3D print a dragon overnight. They are likely doing massive R&D just to get the flight mechanics and the facial rigs right. That takes years, not months.
Sure, dragons are hard, but House of the Dragon turns around a season every 2 years. Game of Thrones did it annually for a while. The technology exists. My concern is that they are using technical perfection as an excuse for administrative paralysis. Let's talk about what pre-production actually entails for a show like this. It's not just computers. It's physical. The actors need to be in the gym for months. They need stunt training, choreography, wire work for the dragon writing. If they haven't cast anyone yet, that training clock hasn't even started. So if they cast someone tomorrow, you're still looking at 4 to 6 months of prep before cameras can even roll. That pushes filming to late 2026, which pushes release to 2028. You're asking a 22-year-old fan to wait until they're nearly 30 to see the adaptation of their favorite college book.
But that 22-year-old fan will wait if the product is good. Look at Arcane. Look at Fallout. Fallout took forever to get right, but when it dropped, it was massive because it was high quality. Amazon has shifted their strategy. A few years ago, they were throwing money at everything. Now, under the MGM umbrella, they are looking for universes. They want Fourth Wing to be their next The Boys or Fallout. And regarding the timeline, the books are saving them. Yarros is still publishing. Onyx Storm just keeps the fire lit. The narrative isn't dormant. If anything, the delay actually helps. It allows Yarros to finish more of the series so the showrunners know exactly where the plot holes are in Book 4 before they write the pilot. That is a luxury Game of Thrones did not have, and we all know how that ended. This strategic patience allows them to seed foreshadowing in Season 1 that pays off in Season 5. That is how you build a masterpiece.
You're putting a lot of faith in the masterpiece theory. But let's look at the communication strategy, or lack thereof. Producer Michael B. Jordan and the Amazon execs keep giving these vague updates. It's coming. We're working hard. We're obsessed with it. That is the standard Hollywood boilerplate for "we are stuck." If they had a locked script and a clear vision, we would see concept art. We would see a casting director announcement. We'd see location scouting leaks from Ireland or New Zealand. The opacity is what worries me. It suggests they are still fighting over what the show even is. Is it a gritty war drama? Is it a steamy romance? Is it Harry Potter with death? The fact that Wally Beckett left suggests they couldn't agree on the answer to that question. And until they answer it, they can't shoot.
I interpret that opacity as discipline. We live in an era of leaks. Amazon is keeping the cards close to the vest because they know the scrutiny is going to be nuclear. The moment they announce Violet, half the internet is going to riot because she's too tall, too short, her hair is wrong, her eyes are wrong. They need to present a united, bulletproof front. They need Meredith Averill to have her Bible set, the dragons designed, and the cast locked so they can drop a bombshell announcement that silences the critics. And also, consider the unicorn hunt again. It is entirely possible that the casting search is just proving harder than they thought. Finding a Xaden who can act, looks the part, has chemistry with Violet, and meets the diversity requirement, that is a shallow pool of talent. And I would argue that hunting for that unicorn is better than just saddling a horse, painting it black, and calling it a dragon.
Touché. But if the hunt takes 5 years, the villagers might have moved on to a different story. And there is another risk. The actors age out. If they want this to be a 5-season arc and they start casting 20-somethings now, by the time they get to the final season, those actors are in their mid-30s playing college students. The Stranger Things problem: the longer they wait, the trickier the casting logistics become.
That's a valid logistical point, but that's why you hire professionals like Outlier Society and Kilter Films. Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy's company is involved too, remember? These are the people who made Westworld. They understand complex, multi-year productions. They know how to manage aging casts and long gaps. Having Kilter Films involved is actually a huge point for my side. They don't do fluff. They do dense, structural storytelling. Their involvement tells me that Amazon wants to elevate Fourth Wing above just being a romantasy hit. They want the politics of Navarre to feel as weighty as the politics in Westworld or Fallout. They are likely spending this time refining the world-building rules so the magic system makes sense on screen. Magic is hard to film without looking cheesy.
If the signet powers look like generic energy blasts, it's over. They have to get the visual language of the magic right.
Potential is the key word you keep relying on. Potential is great, but it doesn't air on Prime Video. My skepticism remains rooted in the graveyard of adaptations that had big names attached. The Dark Tower, The Kingkiller Chronicle. Do you remember The Kingkiller Chronicle? Lin-Manuel Miranda was attached. It was going to be a movie, a show, a game. And then, silence for years, and now it's dead. Fourth Wing has all the ingredients of a hit, but right now it also has all the symptoms of Kingkiller. Too many cooks, Amazon, Outlier, Kilter, Yarros, and not enough cooking. The departure of Wally Beckett could easily be a symptom of executive meddling. Too many notes, too many conflicting directions. Meredith Averill is talented, but can she steer ship with that many captains grabbing the wheel?
A fair concern, but I have faith in the source material's ability to anchor them. The story of Violet Sorrengail is distinct. It's not generic, it has a very specific pulse. The fragility of her connective tissue disorder juxtaposed with the brutality of the writers. As long as Yarros is guarding that pulse, which she seems to be doing by reading and approving scripts, the production has a North Star.
We shall see. But as we look toward the future, the clock is ticking. Every month without a casting announcement makes that 2027 release date look more optimistic and less realistic.
So let's bring this in for a landing. I firmly believe that with Meredith Averill now at the helm, finalized scripts that the author explicitly loves, and the financial and creative might of Amazon backing it, the Fourth Wing adaptation is on a trajectory for quality. They are taking the time to get the dragons, the diversity, and the 5-book arc right. This isn't a delay, it's craftsmanship.
And I maintain that until a cast is locked and cameras are actually rolling, this project remains fragile. The loss of a showrunner midstream is a wound, and the silence suggests the healing process is slow. Relying on rumors and fan enthusiasm to sustain interest over a potential 4 or 5 year development cycle is a massive gamble. In the world of television, momentum is everything. And right now, Fourth Wing is stationary. We both agree, however, that the ultimate success of this endeavor hinges on two things: the faithful depiction of the dragons and the undeniable chemistry between Violet and Xaden.
Absolutely. If they miss on Xaden, no amount of CGI dragons will save the show. And if the dragons look like cartoons, no amount of chemistry will save the drama. It has to be perfect.
It's a high-wire act, much like crossing the parapet. One slip, and it's over. But if they make it across, we are looking at the next global phenomenon.
Let's just hope they make it across before we've all grown old waiting on the other side.
To our listeners, we leave the question to you. Would you prefer a fast adaptation that risks the details, or a slow one that aims for perfection? In the world of Navarre, a mistaken judgment can be fatal. Let's hope Amazon chooses wisely.
Thank you for joining us on The Debate.
Subscribe to the Timeless Tales podcast. Your stories, your time.